All right, you're live. Good day, good evening, good morning from wherever you're tuning in from. Greetings from Kenya. My name is Mothoni, and welcome to our today's Akan Insight Talk. Today we are unlocking the heartbeat of Ghana. We're doing some tree talk, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Please let others know that we are live and let us do this together. With me is our very able tree professor, Mr. Frank. Please, could you introduce yourself, brother?
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Frank Kwakwa. I am the Chief Professor on Resilience Language Arts. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome. Today we are going to have an interesting discussion. We'll be talking about the significance of the Twi language to visitors and communities in Ghana. But before we delve into that, Mr. Frank has something to share about the origin of the name Ghana. So, Mr. Frank, I'm going to leave the floor for you. Please educate us.
Thank you for the platform. So, dear listeners, you should know that the name Ghana is not a coinage at any stage in Ghana's history. Rather, it's a name that was taken by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. That is the first president of Ghana after Ghana won its democracy. So you should know that the name Ghana existed during the 17th century and it was an empire on its own. Now, what's the meaning of Ghana? The word Ghana is translated as warrior king. Warrior king. So this should tell you that the then Ghana Empire, which then existed, happened to have focused on war. And thus, any other person or a citizen of that particular empire was very good at war. Now, by the 18th century, the Ghana Empire had become so rich that the West was in a hurry to trade with Ghana. The question is, why was the West in a hurry to trade with Ghana? Because Ghana had a lot of gold. So it is no surprise that in 1740, after the vanishing of the Ghana Empire, the current existing country, Ghana, in 1744, was known as the Gold Coast. And the first Western country to have traded with the Gold Coast was the Portuguese. So after the Portuguese came other Western countries before the British. So the Portuguese came, followed by the Dutch, followed by the Swedish, and then going on, the British came. Now, upon the coming of the British, Ghana or the Gold Coast realized that they needed independence. And as a result, we have our big sis, which is our gallant leaders who formed the political party and was led by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who enabled the getting of democracy or independence from the British. And in 1957, Ghana became a republic on its own. Thank you very much for the history.
Thank you so much, Mr. Frank. We're so happy for that brief introduction. And we are gonna get started on this tree talk and seeing how it is important to not learners, but visitors and communities in Ghana. And as we get into it, Mr. Frank, would you please tell us how the tree serves as a cultural bridge between visitors and locals in Ghana?
Thank you. So before we delve into the tree serving as a cultural bridge between visitors and locals in Ghana, we have to delve into the background of the tree language itself. So as we have already stated in previous videos, we said the tree belongs to the umbrella Akan. Now, the Akan is divided into three dialects. That is the Ashanti tree, the Iquiapim tree, and then the Fanti language. Now, when you come to Ghana, about six regions speak Chi or Akan. So we have the eastern region of Ghana speaking Chi. We have the western region of Ghana speaking Tree. We have the central region of Ghana speaking Fancy. We have the Volta region of Ghana speaking Tree. We have the Brongahafun region of Ghana speaking Tree. So if you happen to be a visitor and you come to Ghana, the first thing you should understand is that 44% of Ghana's population happen to speak the Akan language. And 44% of Ghana's population happening to speak the Akan language means that a great majority of Akans speak Chi, including the Fantis who don't speak Chi, but they speak Fanti. Even the Fantis, when you are speaking to them, can turn their tongue and speak Fanti and then speak Chi, depending on whom they are speaking to. So if you're a foreigner and then you come to Ghana, you should understand that Chi is the automatic language you'll be speaking because 44% of Ghana's population happen to speak the language. And so automatically you'll be in a better position to learn the Chi language. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I have a question. From what you said is that when you're speaking to an Akan, like they can understand all the dialects, like you are able to understand the different dialects of Akan, and you people can interact with each other without any problems. Like you can completely understand each other.
Exactly.
And you did
So
also mention that you can also understand and communicate with Fanti.
exactly. So in previous videos, as we have shown, we learned that there are two varieties of the Akan language. We have the linguistic Akan and then the cultural Akans. When it comes to the linguistic Akans, that is the Asantis, the Equiapem, and then the Fantis. All these three people can understand each other when the language is being spoken. However, the cultural Akans are not part of the linguistic Akans because some of the words they use are totally foreign to the linguistics Akan as we have them. So when you take people like the Equiapem people, the Equiapems cannot understand anything the Inzima does because the Inzimas are cultural Akans, which means they only share a culture with the Equiapem people. They only share a culture with the Asantis. They only share a culture with the Fantis, but they don't share dialects or language with them. So they share culture, but they don't share language. That's how come we have cultural accounts and then linguistic accounts. So when it comes to cultural accounts, you can have people like the Guans, the Inzimas, and many others. For them, when the linguistic accounts speak the Akan or the Chi language, they wouldn't understand. But within the linguistic accounts, that is the Fantis, the Equiapem, and then the Santis. The Santis can understand what the Fantis are saying, the Fantis can understand what the Equiapem are saying, and vice versa. Thank you for the question.
Wow, this is really beautiful. And now, when we're talking about the tree language facilitating cultural, I mean, bridging that cultural gap between visitors, foreigners, and locals. What examples would you quote of tree facilitating this?
Okay. So, as I have already established, Chi is the most popular language spoken in Ghana. As a result of that, when you come to Ghana, naturally you are enforced to enter the Chi environment. So you'll be surprised that when it comes, even though we are in Accra, which is the capital city of Ghana, and then the people of Accra speak the Ghana language, people in Accra are forced to learn the Chi language because most Akans coming from other parts of Ghana now form a core part of the Ghana enclave. And most of them happen to speak their Chi language more often than the Ghana language. This has gone ahead to force most Ghanaians to learn the Chi language. So if you're a foreigner and then you come to Ghana, Though the first place you'll be stepping into is Accra, you can speak Twi with the Ga, and at the same time, you can speak Twi with the Twi natives. So that's the very way that the Twi language is bridging culture. Now, we should understand that when we talk about culture, the first productive mechanism that drives culture is language. So if everybody in the country is learning the Twi language, then automatically it is easier for a foreigner to understand the Ghanaian culture if he takes advantage of the Twi language. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is really interesting. And if I may take you back a little, would you mind reminding us the official languages of Ghana? Do we have a national language in Ghana?
So the national language of Ghana is English. Although the Akan language happens to be popular, the most popular language in Ghana, the national language of Ghana is English. Now, over the years, people are calling for the usage of Akan as the national language. The difficulty is other people from other parts of Ghana think that if they are forced to learn the Akan language, then automatically they are forced to learn the Akan culture, which is going to deprive uh, their next generation, that's posterity, from learning their own culture. So it is a battle which is currently ongoing for the Akan language or the Twi language to be used as the national language. However, since this has not been achieved yet, our national
Mm-hmm.
language is Akan. It's English. However, our popular language, our most popular language is English.
Do you think there is a need maybe to make an African language the national language alongside English or maybe something like that in Ghana?
It is that should be a dream come true for most of us who happen to realize that as Africans, we are digressing from our cultural norms to norms which is totally foreign to our cultural understanding and philosophy. I think that an African language in any other African country should be employed as a national language of the culture. The reason being that if you learn someone's language, you are forced to learn the culture. You can't say you are learning Scottish when you never learn to dress like them. You can't say you are learning French when you don't want to learn to become romantic because we know that the French language is a romantic language. You don't say that you are learning Italian when you don't have the verb to translate in your actions. So the same happens to African languages. We have realized that most African languages that are using their natural language as their national language are fastly developing because what their grandmothers, their mothers are speaking is the same thing that the children are also speaking. So communication between the parents and the children are very easy. When it comes to Ghana, for instance, you have children speaking a lot of English, and you have some parents who don't even understand English. So, in this particular situation, a parent who cannot speak English, who is praying for the child to speak English, would end up not being capable of translating the culture that parent has enjoyed over the years to that particular child. And as a result, there will be a cultural cut. When I say a cultural cut, the linkage which we are supposed to transfer culture from one generation to another generation will be cut off on a particular generation. And that is what is currently happening in Ghana. You meet people who don't even understand some cultural symbols. When you put Jame symbol there and you ask someone that, what is Jame symbol? How does this affect your cultural understanding of your environment? It is quite difficult to get someone who calls himself an educated graduate to actually dissect the Jame symbol. So there's a cultural cut when we use foreign languages, because at the end of the day, the next generation will end up learning foreign languages and the culture that comes with it. And they'll be doing away with our own language and cultures that happens to be with it.
Thank you so much. I asked this because I come from Kenya and we happen to have Kiswahili. It's an indigenous Kenyan language or African language as an official and national language. Um, so, like using Kiswahili, it kind cultivates and creates a sort of a national culture, heritage, because it's like an umbrella. It doesn't mean that all the other ethnic groups are overlooked. Personally, I am a Kamba woman. I am fully Kamba. I speak Kamba. I live Kamba life. But at the same time, I do speak Swahili because it's our language of identity as Kenyan because it's our national language. So I really do appreciate this step for Kenyans and our neighbors, Tanzania, using an African language as a national language, the language of unity, bringing people together. It's our identity. That is why I was asking about, Ghana having a national language which is indigenous. All right, let's look at some phrases or expressions that would say they're very important when it comes to visitors um, in Ghana. What are some of these expressions that you think they are really important for someone who is visiting Ghana and looks forward to interacting with locals to be able to navigate life comfortably in Ghana?
Thank you very much for the question asked. So, though Ghana or this current generation of Ghanaians are moving away from our system of things, it doesn't mean that our culture has been totally done away with. Now, and a major aspect of the Ghanaian culture, which every ethnic group takes to heart, is greeting. In Ghana, greeting can make you and can unmake you. Most politicians will tell you that they lost power just because some people did not greet them or they didn't go about greeting people. So if you don't want to be the enemy of anyone in Ghana, please take your greetings very seriously. Now, the least greeting that you can take advantage of is Michiawo. Michiao. It is not very technical. Michiao, which means I am greeting you. Now, this type of greeting, whether direct or indirect, functions in two manners. Now, the first is that it connotes respect. Michiao. So the person who is being greeted would respond by saying Mejeoso, which is I have responded. So when you say Michiao or Michiao, it means that I am greeting you. Now, the person who is responding will say Mejeosu, which is I have responded. Now, the second importance of this particular greeting is that there's a possibility that when you greeted a person, the person was not of himself. He was not conscious of himself. Please excuse me. I want to cough. Thank you. So the person was not conscious of himself. And as a result, when you say meet Xiao, the person will be reminded that, hey, he or she is being greeted. So meet Xiao, the person will then say, hey, sorry, na minim se uchiam, which means, pardon me, I didn't know you were greeting me. So then the person will say, okay, sorry for not responding or paying attention, but at this particular moment, I have responded. So doing that paves a path for easy communication. So greeting in Ghana is the easiest way of making friends in Ghana. So you greet a person, the person responds, and then you go ahead to do what? To have your communication. Now, that being said, another thing that you should take very serious when you're a foreigner in Ghana is your way of dressing. Ghanaians have the eyes of eagles. They may be seated on a rock far away, but they have sighted you from the distance you are coming from. Now, how you present yourself would denote how Ghanaians accept you. When you present yourself as a cultured person, Ghanaians would accept you as a cultured person. When you present yourself as a foreigner, Ghanaians would pardon you as a foreigner, but will not accept you in totality. So, for example, in Ghana, we have a formal way of dressing and informal way of dressing. For example, when you come to Ghana, from Mondays to Fridays, at our place of employment, you are expected to maybe put on an official wear. Sorry, from Monday to Thursday, you're expected to put on an official wear. That is just as I have dressed. On Friday, you are expected to dress like a Ghanaian. So you put on an African wear. And an African wear can be an African print or a cloth like kente, which is popular in Ghana. Or when you go to the northern part of Ghana, they wear fugu. All this type of dressing are very official when it comes to the traditional dressing of Ghanaians. And as a result, when someone puts on fugu, which is popular in the Volta and then the northern part of Ghana, or kente, which is popular among the Akans of Ghana, that is the eastern region, the western region, the central region, then you should know that you are going to be given much respect. However, when you are dressing and your dressing is totally foreign to the official way of dressing in most countries or the official way of dressing in Ghana, the respect Ghanaians have for you is going to reduce. So, for example, you are supposed to dress, and then if you're a male, your trousers must be at your waistline. When you come to Ghana and you dress, and then we see your trousers at your bottom line, Ghanaians should tag you as an autofista person. Now, the history of the autofista dressing happens to be a Ghanaian coach who was so slim that most often than not, whenever he wears his trousers, the trouser automatically descends unintentionally to his bottom line. When we see you dressing like that, the respect we have for you diminishes. That being said, we have a way of dressing our hair. That is the way of barbering our hair. So if you are going to leave your beard, we expect you to shape it nicely. If you are going to cut your hair, we expect you to shape it nicely. If not for that, and you happen to be a Rastafarian, that is a different conversation on its own because we know it borders on matters of religion. Even when a Rastafarian dresses neatly, nicely, that Rastafarian is accorded much respect. So greeting and dressing is most important when you are coming to Ghana. Thank you very much. There are more, but for time's sake, we will leave it here.
Yeah, I'm sure, Mr. Frank, that we would be so happy to welcome everyone to your tree classes so that they can learn all this in depth and, appreciate the tree language and culture. I was so touched when you said that on Fridays you guys do wear African wear, like Ghanaian wear to work. Like that is what you're supposed to wear. That is so beautiful. I wish so many other countries could emulate and make it more days. This is this is African. We are Africa. We should live it and express it as much as we are able to. I know you mentioned I greet you. It might have escaped my head. Make sure I join your class. But I remember me Pachao. I think it's because it sounds
Yeah.
somehow close to that. Yeah, I'll make sure when I'm coming to Ghana, I don a beautiful kente and identify well with the locals. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much. And on to my last question because we are running out of time. To the experts in Ghana, what would you say about Chui and playing an important role in integrating these expats into the local community or even the larger Ghanaian community using language? I know you might have touched on that, but could you speak on it deeper?
Thank you very much for the question. Now, this question I deem very important because most people you meet in Ghana are lost. Though they work as citizens, you can actually tell that they are foreigners. And it will be easier for these people to learn the Tree language. Now, the Tree language is not very difficult. It is a language that borders on tonation. So the tones define what is being said. So, for example, when I say papa, I mean man. When I say papa, I mean good. When I say paper, I mean clean. It is an interesting language which borders on tone. So let's delve into why one expert in Ghana has to learn the Tree language. Now, just as I have stated, the Tree language happens to be spoken by 44% of Ghana's population. That is according to Ghana's Statistical Service. It means that that is what most Ghanaians are speaking. So if you want to actually feel a Ghanaian, you are supposed to learn it. Now, the second reason why you are supposed to learn the Tree language is because its cultural materials are currently being copied by most ethnic groups in Ghana. So, for example, when you delve into chieftaincy matters, the name given to some positions within chieftaincy hierarchy, you realize that other ethnic groups are copying some tenets of Akan chieftaincy hierarchy into their own. For example, we can have a name like Asafo. When you take the Ghana language, we say Asafuache. Now, Asafuache, when you take the word Asafo, it's not a Ghana language, it is a Tree language. Now, Asafo means a collection of people. These collection of people are in most cases the youth, which form a military corps or the core of security for the people or the ethnic group that they find themselves in. So Asafo as a word is currently being used by the Gans. So today we have a word like Asafuache. Now, when we delve into the Akan military hierarchy, we have Chidomhene, Bemohene, and other staffs. Currently, other ethnic groups are copying the same word textures. So you have Chidomhene in some ethnic groups, Bemohene in other ethnic groups, and other important keywords being used by Akans, being copied into that ethnic groups. That should tell you that even the ethnic groups that happen to be sharing geographical locations with Akans are taking advantage of the words that they use because they realize that it hits the hammer, it hits the nail on the head than what they are using. So it will be easier for you to learn the word so that you can also apply it. Another thing that you should also understand is that we say that language transports culture. And as a result, the Akan culture is the most celebrated culture. I'm not saying that other cultures are not being celebrated, but the Akan culture or the Tree culture is the most celebrated in Ghana. For example, you have some culture or some cultural tenets in Tree, which is also being practiced in other ethnic groups. As a result, when you learn the cultural tenets in Tree, it is easier to understand the cultural tenets of other ethnic groups. I'll give you a clear example. Libation. Asantes perform libation. Equiapin people perform libation. Fantiers perform libation. So when it comes to the cultural accounts, sorry, the linguistic accounts, all these three ethnic groups perform libation. When you go to the Gans also pour libation. When you go to the Gonjas perform libation. When you go to the Ewes, they perform libation. Now, this is to tell you that when you learn the tree language, it is easier to learn other languages or other cultures of other ethnic groups. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This is really beautiful. And I'm so curious to know, how do you feel every time a foreigner or a visitor speaks your mother tongue?
Thank you for this question. So, this question is very interesting. Immediately we see a foreigner speaking our mother tongue, our heart beats with warmth. I wouldn't lie to you. So you just reminded me of a situation where I was working with one of my pupil in our neighborhood, and then we saw a white man. And then a white man happened to have greeted us in Chi by saying, Michiamu. Just then, my pupil just stood like a statue. She was quite surprised that a white man was speaking the language. Now, when the white man passed by, my people were so happy that that's the only thing that she wanted to discuss with me. To the extent that the next day, she told her sisters that they should come and ask me whether or not the white people in our neighborhood are speaking Twi or not. So this should tell you that Ghanaians are an open people. And when you happen to speak our language, you are very happy. When you speak the Twi language, it is easier for us to embrace you as one of us. When you happen not to speak the Twi language, we feel as though you are looking down on our culture, and you hug you, we embrace you, but that embrace, know that it is limited.
Thank you so much. This is a really beautiful way to end this discussion. It has been a wonderful time. Thank you so much, everyone viewing this, for joining us. Please keep it here Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to get more of these interesting topics. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for joining us. And may the warmth and the richness of the discussion of the Chui language we just had continue resonating in your hearts or to your hearts. And until we meet next time, stay safe, stay blessed. From me, Muthoni, it's a goodbye, Yubishia.
Bye bye. Ibishia. Ibishia.